Welcome back to the Daily Dean. Cool bit of trivia that I found out was that the amount of people who listen to, play, and stream generally lo-fi music has gone up during the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic quarantine. And that got me thinking about this question that I asked 2 years ago. What does lo-fi stand for? And that's a great question. I'm glad you asked as well. Because when I looked it up, I found the answer was low fidelity. And that didn't really mean anything to me unless you're like a sound engineer or something like related to stereos. Because the term low fidelity comes from the term high fidelity. Both words use the term fidelity. So where does that come from? Fidelity comes from the root faith. So low fidelity means low faith, and high fidelity means high faith. But in terms of sound, in their relationship, it's about how faithful a sound recording is to what a person actually sounds like. So like AM radio and like recordings from the 1930s, those are not very faithful to what a person sounds like. They sound a little bit muffled. They got some distortions in their like harmonies or whatever that they sound like, right? Their tones. And we know that a person doesn't actually sound like muffled 24/7 all the time. So it tells us, it tells us for the same reason, or related to the reason why we know that people, in black and white movies weren't actually living in black and white 24/7. It's just not faithful to what they sounded like or what they looked like, right? So high fidelity means something that does sound like what they sounded like from back then. Right now, you hear something that's very close to what I sound like through, your phone, tablet, or computer, or whatever you're watching this on. And that's where the whole, meaning of lo-fi comes from. But the term lo-fi music has, changed a lot since the first time it was coined, along with high fidelity, in the 1950s. And that's 70 years of history. I did the math for you. And that's a lot of stuff that I could go into, but it's a lot. So instead I'm going to be talking about the parts that I find interesting. In the 1980s and 1990s, the term lo-fi was associated with like people who were doing music in their bedrooms and stuff, right? It was because these people have lower quality audio equipment because they're not like studio level people. And that's understandable, right? So the low fidelity equipment they had became a part of their like music. And so it's, little genre there, lo-fi was associated with like indie artists and stuff like that. And in the 1990s, it was absorbed into like the whole indie thing there, the whole genre. But in 2010, or not 2010, the 2010s, the term lo-fi, and in general, became like more lost. People weren't actually, using low fidelity equipment because you got digital libraries and master computers and stuff like that you can use to edit your sound. And that's a interesting piece, but now the term lo-fi no longer means what it meant in the 1950s. And that's fine. That's how music changes, right? So, basically, nowadays, if you look up lo-fi music, it's associated with, the slow, chillaxed, downwave stuff. Maybe you got like a Simpsons logo or something, or regular show. Maybe a person like biking in the rain or in like purple, pink, yellow aesthetic colors. And it's just an interesting look at how things changed. But related to that, there's arguments like, oh, that's not lo-fi, or that's not really music. And my little piece on that, now this isn't as related to lo-fi, just music in general. If somebody likes a band, a song, or a genre specifically, let that person be happy without, putting on your glasses and going like, oh, well actually, that's not real music. You should be listening to this artist because that artist is total doo-doo. And why would you do that to a person? If they enjoy the music that they enjoy, then let that person enjoy it. So if you the whole rule of thumb, if you have something that might take away from a person's happiness, I wouldn't say it. And maybe the inverse of that, because obviously there's cases where you do want to point something out to somebody because it's like, I don't know, it's something. But if you have something nice to share, yeah, totally share it, because, maybe it'll make them happy. And just let people vibe. So that's that, and that's all. But I should probably work on an outro, but that's all. Bye.